Hello, friends, and welcome back to Stories About Entitled People. Here's the story of a gas station employee who learned the hard way about the perils of giving an inch. But before we dive in, make sure to hit that subscribe button, smash the like if you enjoy the content, and ring that notification bell so you never miss a juicy story. I'm not giving him another cup. This guy, just turned 21, about a year younger than me, 22, has been frequenting the gas station where I work. At first, he would come in with his girlfriend and things were fine until they started asking for things. A soda here, a donut there. They lived on the streets but seemed like decent kids, so I used my own money and gave them a freebie. I let them know I would pay for it and that it was a one-time thing, and they said okay, and we moved on from there. After a while, they kept coming by. They liked to talk, so when it was slow, they would stick around. At first, it was fine. They had food stamps and would buy snacks. But after a week or so, they started asking for things again. I had to start telling them no, which seemed to go over well. I informed them that if they keep the cups they buy, or the ones I'd given them, that a refill was cheaper and that I'd be more likely to let them refill it no charge. This was during the summer and fall when it was a lot hotter outside. A few more weeks went by, and as they did, I learned more about this couple. I won't go into those details as it's their business, but for reasons they decided to split up and the girlfriend went back to her hometown. This made the guy frequent my store even more often, telling me basically everything about the relationship, himself, and how his life's going. Now, I dealt with it at first. I listened and I offered up advice. I try to be a good ear for my customers. Some of the people that come into my store have zero interaction with others outside of these moments. I take that into consideration and try to make them seem welcome. Anyways, he starts to hang around too long. I'm talking hours, walking in and out, interacting with my customers. Nicely, not rudely, but it was still awkward for a lot of them to have some random guy just stand there and watch. He would buy something every now and then, ask for something every now and then. I started to make excuses by then. I told him I'd gotten in trouble for customers loitering without buying anything. This worked for a short time. He would make a point to buy things and then only stick around for a short time. After a bit, he just kept coming in, talking and complaining about his circumstances. I noticed that when I gave him advice he didn't want to hear, he would change the subject and be quick to leave. I started to use that to my advantage and be more firm with him on things. I stopped giving him cups and I told him that I liked the little downtime I would get when no one's here. I told him that I felt like I couldn't enjoy my time with him throughout most of my shift and that it's very hard to take a break working my shift alone. I made it clear that it wasn't personal and that he needed to lessen his time here. He often goes into tirades about not having work, money, food, etc. So today, when I reminded him that it's Sunday and I'd like to have time to myself where I can clean or just relax, he mentioned the fact that everywhere I go, I feel like people just tell me to leave, but I don't care and I'll go. I understand. I told him again that it wasn't personal and that I've mentioned before that Sunday's the only slow day I get during the week. He was about to say something back when a customer came in, so instead he walked out. I watched him leave, and as he left, he threw away the last cup I gave him. Again, right in front of me. Now, as I said before, I've put up with him for a good couple months now. I've helped him out every now and then with a snack or drink. I let him stick around and get things off his chest. He has no motivation to get a job. He constantly complains about not being able to get one, but I've had 3 different people offer to help him get a position where they work, and he turns them down. He has straight up told me about his panhandling habits and how he feels like it's easier at this point. And the money he gets from it goes towards the weed he likes to brag about having. Long story short, if you give a mouse a cookie, they'll ask you for a glass of milk. Don't give the mouse a cookie? It's not worth it. Yeah, folks like that are just users. They find a kind heart and drain them dry, then go on to the next one. And our second story. How dare you put that back? I work as a cashier at a grocery store chain. We have the usual setup for everything in usual grocery stores. Fresh bakery, fresh produce, cleaning supplies, and so on. This store also utilizes a system of having one of us as a cashier and a separate employee who helps bag groceries with the cashier on bigger orders, who also help put items back when needed. This event happened earlier this summer when I'd been with the store for about 2 to 3 weeks and had a run-in with a customer who I hope to not see again anytime soon. I'd been working my register for the better part of 3 hours when I had a lady come, who I'll call C, customer for short, up to my register. At this time, we were not requiring people to wear masks in store, but some people did choose to do so. This lady was wearing a mask, which I'm perfectly fine with. It sometimes made it hard to hear what people were saying, but usually if I asked a second time, they could clarify what they had said and I'd understand. This lady put everything she had in her cart on the conveyor belt, and I began to scan the items to pass off to the other employee next to me for them to help me sort them in bags. While I began scanning, the lady said something that I heard as, "C, could you put this bleach back? I don't want it." To which I replied, "You don't want this bleach, ma'am?" C, "Yes, I don't want it." I nodded as I put the bleach aside and hand off to an employee to be put back once I was done checking her out. The rest of the checkout process went fine. I got her total for the groceries she purchased, and when I asked her if she would like her receipt, she declined and said she didn't need it. She left the store soon after, but 5 minutes later she came storming back in and back to me behind my register. C, "Why the hell is my bleach not with my groceries?" Me, taken aback, looked at her with confusion. "I'm sorry?" C, "My bleach. You didn't give me the damn bleach. Why did you charge me for it?" At this point, I now understood what she had said earlier was to not put the bleach back, but was that she wanted it to be separated from the groceries. Again, I had asked to clarify, and she did say yes to my response. It didn't help that she didn't have a receipt to confirm I hadn't actually charged her for it, but whatever. Me, "Ma'am, I'm sorry, I thought you said you didn't want it." C, "That's no excuse. You heard me fine. I almost got run over by one of your employees when I came back in." At this point, my manager had caught wind from her office and had come out to talk to her, but by this time the lady had began storming off, yelling at me. C, "F you, I'm never coming back here again," and vanished into the store, supposedly to get her bleach. My manager, who was just as confused as I was, came over to ask me what happened, in which I told her I thought she had said she wanted the bleach to be put back and that she didn't want it. My manager simply nodded and gave a sigh, telling me, "Don't worry about it, just continue checking people out as normal. If she comes back, I'll handle her." Safe to say, I didn't see her after that, as I assume she went out through self-checkout. No other bad experiences, and at my 3-month mark, my manager gave me props for handling the situation well, but said if something like that ever happened again, that she could take care of it and to call her over. On the bright side, this is my only poor experience with having worked there so far. All I can hope is that the lady got her bleach safe and sound. Maybe it's just me, but if I was in charge, you drop an F-bomb at one of my employees and you're banned for life. Shop somewhere else. And our next story. I reported my neighbor's abandoned vehicle parked in front of my house. I just bought my first home, and let me tell you, it's absolutely awesome. I'm on cloud 9, and life is great. However, there's one little hiccup. My neighbor has way too many cars. From what I can gather, the son seems to be fixing up cars as a side business, parking 3 of them out front. The owner's an AC repairman and has a work truck as well, plus there are other vehicles popping up from time to time. Now, the curb is public property, and they have every right to park in front of my house. We don't have an HOA, so I'm not saying the curb is my space. The real issue is that one of the cars parked in front of my property has "for sale" and other information written on it and hasn't been moved in at least 4 weeks. This car is violating 2 city codes. One states that a vehicle cannot remain on public property, the curb, for more than a certain number of days without moving, otherwise it's considered an abandoned vehicle. The other code violation is that a car labeled "for sale" cannot be parked on public property for more than 48 hours. I'm well within my rights to contact the police department via the non-emergency number and report these violations, but I don't want to make an enemy of my new neighbor. He would likely know it was me if the police showed up to inform him of his violations, so I decided to take a different approach. One day, while I was out watering my lawn, I saw the neighbor. I struck up a conversation with him about the car. I asked if they were having any luck selling it and casually mentioned that it'd be great if it could be parked in front of their house instead. The neighbor was anything but understanding. He got defensive, insisting that the car wasn't bothering anyone and that he had the right to park wherever he wanted. I tried to explain the city codes, but he cut me off, saying, "Mind your own business." Frustrated and out of options, I called the police department's non-emergency number. I explained the situation, mentioning the violations. They assured me they would send someone to check it out. A few days later, I noticed a warning sticker on the car's window. The next morning, it was gone. The police must have followed up and enforced the code. While the situation wasn't ideal, and I wish my neighbor had been more cooperative, I'm relieved the problem's resolved. Sometimes you have to stand up for yourself, even if it means taking a tougher route. And our last story. Considering building a viewing tower on my property that blocks the neighbor's view. For 16 years, I've called this place home, a beautiful spot on a marsh creek. Over the years, I've gradually worked on improving my property. As a single woman, it's been a slow process, especially when it comes to costly projects like building a bulkhead along the waterfront. I always kept part of the area wooded with a trail leading to a friend's house and a couple of chairs where I'd sit and enjoy the view. Life was peaceful, and I was content with my little slice of nature. Then, 5 years ago, new neighbors moved in next door and everything changed. They clear-cut the land right up to my property line and began storing their stuff on my land. At first, I tried to handle it politely, asking them to move their things and reminding them that I intended to use my property. But my requests fell on deaf ears. They ignored me and continued to do whatever they pleased, as if my land was theirs to use as they saw fit. The situation escalated when the neighbor had a land survey done and began stabilizing the waterfront, not just his own, but part of mine too. It was clear he was trying to steal my land, and his behavior only grew more aggressive and threatening. I tried to keep the place, hoping to avoid any tension, but there comes a point where you can only take so much. That point came when I finally popped my top. I cleared my land, got my own survey done, and confirmed what I already knew. My property runs directly behind theirs along the water. After a drawn-out struggle, they eventually installed a fence, which at least stopped them from coming onto my land in the middle of the night. But now I'm considering building a tall viewing tower on my property, just like the neighbors on either side of me have done. The best spot for it happens to be right behind their house, where it would block their view. Given how they've treated me, I'm not exactly motivated to do them any favors. I could place the tower further from their house to be courteous, but it would mean sacrificing my view and blocking it from my own house. Part of me feels justified. After all, it's my land, and they've shown zero respect for it. But I also know that if I go through with this, it could lead to years of tension and conflict with neighbors who aren't going anywhere anytime soon. In the end, I'm left wondering, would I be the a-hole for building on my own property if it ruins their view? Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.